Paul. If we haven't met before, hello again. How are you? It's nice to see you. It is a lovely Wednesday and a great time for us to have a live stream presentation from our software engineering code, code students. I am also an alumni of the TripleTen software engineering program. So this is a live stream that is near and dear to my heart. I am currently a full stack engineer and a product owner at Scholastic Inc., the world's largest publisher of children's books and a powerhouse in the digital education space as well. Like I said, tonight is one of my favorite things that I get to do in my free time, which is host TripleTen's Code Jams. There's lots of people who are able to join us online, which is super great, and all of our students who are joining us live as well. If you are not sure what a code jam is, and you may be wondering if you need to bring peanut butter or bread, relax, you don't. A code jam is a friendly competition here at TripleTen where we put our students into teams and ask them to complete a prompt or a brief or a challenge in a super short time frame. So essentially, they get together and jam out a bunch of code. No peanut butter necessary. There are prizes, but mostly the students are competing for that one thing that all developers really want, which is a caffeinated bagel. Why do we not have that yet? I don't know. Just kidding. It's pride, and lots of fun prizes from TripleTen. So last week's our participants were divided into teams, and we have 4 teams with us tonight. Our teams were challenged to create and develop a website or application that helps people prepare or plan or otherwise enjoy their summer vacation. And I know I am certainly very much looking forward to this because I'm going to take every one of these projects and throw it at my teenage boys and hope something will stick. Our students had 6 days to make their projects, and today they are going to show them off to all of you out there in YouTube land. And then our judges are going to review them next week. Their judges will be evaluating both the code and the presentation. The results will be posted on Discord June 19th, and all of our students they will post it on Discord and our social media channels on June 19th. If you're watching this on YouTube and you are a student of ours, you can go ahead and vote for your favorite project in the Discord poll that will be up after this presentation. If you're not a student of ours just yet, what are you waiting for? Number one. And number two, you can also vote in the live chat or in the comment section if you're watching this on replay later. All you have to do to vote is go ahead and throw the name of your favorite team in the chat. The winners of our audience award will receive special prizes from TripleTen and probably one of the stuffed mice my cat Sharkbait likes to chew on. So you could throw that out if you really want to. He just likes to contribute. Now that we have talked about all the prizes and fun things, let's go ahead and get started. We have 4 teams, like I mentioned. It is the best part of the whole presentation where we get to begin with our first team, the Travel Mappers. The Travel Mappers team consists of Dustin Goodwin, Jamie Bowen, and Georgia Lloyd. Go ahead, Travel Mappers.
Hi, everyone. My name is Georgia, and I am part of the Travel Mappers group. Just a heads up, Dustin is going to be sharing his screen to show off our app and any coding. So if my face keeps showing because I'm speaking, we'll have Dustin make some noise. You can right click on his screen to pin his screen so you're seeing what he's doing while I'm speaking. And before we get too much into the details of the app we made, I just wanted to go over some of the soft skills that I feel like we got to practice during this code jam that are super beneficial for us. We met on Friday after the initial meeting to come up with an idea for the app we wanted to move forward with. We voted, locked down plans really fast, went over our schedules, schedule limitations, and then also our knowledge base so we could get an idea of how each team member could contribute and, hopefully do kind of like an equal share so we could all feel, kind of equally proud of what we came up with. And Dustin has been just finished the coursework. Jamie has been in TripleTen. She's about halfway through. And I just finished my first full stack project. So we were able to allocate tasks that way, work collaboratively on GitHub, learning how to make branches within a team group, work on our individual tasks, and push and pull code. Obviously, there are merging conflicts that sometimes come up. So there were, issues like that, mistakes we made that sometimes broke the app, and we were able to collaboratively problem solve to fix those mistakes in kind of, a safe space, which was really great learning for us all. And I feel like it's equipped me to feel more confident moving forward in a professional team setting. So I'm going to hand over the mic to Jamie so she can give us an overview of the travel log app that we made.
All right. All right, Dustin, if you wouldn't mind sharing there we go. So this is our travel log app. Couple features. So this is the main landing page, the initial page that you show up on. It features a map, which is interactive. This map lets you add travel logs to your profile page by selecting a location on the map. All right, Dustin, can you give them a little preview of that? So we're going to log in, of course. So we've already created a login for Dustin so that we have some memories already saved, but this is a way that you can add specific memories to the map. There are modals that show your memory in and of itself. And then you can actually go to your travel log page, which is a completely separate landing page that we created, and it shows an overview of all of your logs. There are modals that open that, give a nicer look to them. And this is built in an overall grid layout, and this is the main functionality. I will say Dustin worked a little bit more on some of the sign in, sign out functionality and the map interaction, so I will let him speak to how that all works. But in general, some of the tech that we used was React, Vite. We had to do Google Maps API, obviously CSS for styling, and hooks. So this is just a very high level overview of that. And I will go ahead and pass it off to Dustin to go over the portions that he contributed on.
All right, I'm Dustin. So I had the privilege of working on the map, the main functionality of this. We connected to the Google Map API and we're able to use it to add pins and stuff like that. So the main functionality, we're able to set a state to where you can add memories because if not, when you're just scrolling around, zooming in, zooming out, it would just place pins everywhere. So you have to click the add memory button to add a memory. You put in your description, put in your photo and your location, add it to the map. On the travel log page, like she mentioned, you can see all the logs that you've added and delete them. And it does remove them from the map. So yeah, I don't know. That's pretty much all the functionality of it. We did use local storage. We didn't have time to build a backend, so it does save your pins to your user, and you're able to log in and log out just like a functioning full application. And yeah, that's about it.
Cool. And then I can jump in on some of my contributions. One of the difficulties that we ran into with this was obviously where we are in the program. Dustin is finished, Georgia's close to finishing. I'm only halfway through. Dustin and Georgia really wanted to use React for this. I have not yet learned React, so I focused a little bit more on the design and the styling, making most of the page responsive, honing in on some of my CSS skills. And that was one of the things that I had to overcome was understanding how the class names were written differently in React versus the JavaScript OOP that I've been working on now. So design was a little bit more of my requirement for this project. And I will pass it to Georgia to talk about her contributions.
Yeah, so I already knew going into this project that I had to work on Monday and Tuesday, so I was going to have to do a lot of my coding contributions over the weekend. I also knew that since we went in, we decided to go on with the React project, and even though Jamie had never done it before, she was like really willing to jump in head first, and which is so awesome. And I think Dustin and I knew that the JSX kind of seamlessly, blends together with the previous HTML and CSS lessons we've learned. So it's super awesome. She was able to design the user interface for us. And I basically worked on a lot of the beginning structure. I laid out a lot of the code for the components that were initially set in, and did a lot of the HTML. I left the classes open for Jamie to style with the CSS pages. And I also implemented global states in app.jsx. We used React's built-in hooks, and we also created 2 custom hooks. Probably the main one that most people will be familiar with is the close modal hook, which makes the user interface really nice. When we open a modal, we can press the escape button to close it, or click outside of the modal window to have it close instead of hitting that X button. And yeah, I also basically, for the state management done in app.jsx, was able to pass down the state through functions in props. And we also I created a modal with form component that we use kind of as a base, mimicking the Sprint 14 structure for our 4 other modals that we used, which include the sign in, sign up, add a memory modal, and then edit profile modal. And yeah, I'm going to pass the mic back to Dustin for kind of our conclusion and questions.
Yeah, I just want to say we were down a team member, and it was a privilege working with my team. Everybody handled their part. Like she mentioned, Jamie jumped right in there and having no knowledge of React and worked, and we really worked great together. I don't really think I have anything else to add. If you have any questions for us.
All right. That is really great. I really love the overall look of it. It is giving lots of wonderful nostalgia vibes, with a Polaroid. A Polaroid for you youngsters out there is a picture, you take it and don't shake it. So let's talk about some of the features. You had talked about like, hey, we didn't have time, so we did a front end only, not back end. Totally understandable. What is maybe like a feature that you guys um, were going to put in, but it didn't quite make it, and you're still thinking about it?
Georgia, if you want to take that about, as of now, you manually
Location.
have to place the location. Like I'll show you. When you add a memory, you place the location in here. We planned on actually getting the location. It is saved, obviously, because we placed the pins at certain locations and it takes the latitude and longitude. We planned on taking that information and automatically filling in the location, but we didn't get around to do that. We do plan to continue working on this and building the back end and probably adding that feature, and making it, more of a fully functional web application and maybe even a mobile app one day. Who knows? This may be bigger than Instagram one day.
I love that idea. And in terms of the working through the new challenges, especially Jamie, like you talked about, you're not quite into the sprints that are talking about React just yet, and so you're working on those other pieces. And really, if you're working on the React parts too, what was kind of an aha moment that you had during your time on the jam?
For me, it was honestly figuring out the way that they structured all of the content. I'm just getting into the part where we're with, object-oriented programming, where we're pulling everything apart rather than everything in one functional index.js file. And so understanding how each of the components work together and how those were organized was honestly crucial to figuring out how to write the CSS.
Fantastic. Georgia, do you have one as well?
An
You
aha
could also be like,
moment.
no, I have no aha moments.
I think really working with GitHub within a team was a big aha moment for me, because we did have merging conflicts, and I remember jumping on a call with Jamie and sharing our screen and going through each line one by one to make sure that we weren't going to break the code on accident. And yeah, I mean uh the teamwork aspect was really the biggest aha moment for me, I think.
Fantastic. All right, that was our first team of the evening. So thank you guys very much. That is the Travel Mappers with watch out Instagram, they're coming for you with Dustin Goodwin, Jamie Bowen, and Georgia Lloyd. All right, now it's going to go to our second team for the evening, the Itinerarians, which is just fun to say. And that is Inzira, Avery Walker, and Ryan Bomarto. Sorry, Ryan Bomarito.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Hi, we are the Itinerarians, and our app is called Itinerarium. It is a really fun word to say that I kind of came up with. So just as a precursor, we were down two teammates, and then we were down one teammate, and then we were down two teammates, and then we were down one teammate again. So that being said, we had a lot to work on with less hands. Starting off with the app, I'm going to log out here. Basically, the app is meant to be able to create itineraries for multiple trips if you are someone that likes to travel. There is a login and register functionality. So I'm just going to create a quick account. Oops. And name my name. Then maybe it will work. Currently, the app does not completely work. I will say that. We did not get to everything, but it is a full stack app. There is a front end and there is a back end. And as you can see, you have your home section here where it lists out your upcoming trips. And then this function is not working completely where you have your daily schedule, where ideally it will show your current day or the next day that's coming up. And then you can also press these buttons to choose which day you want to see. And then it lists out your schedule. And then each trip, you can add a new trip here where you can name it. And I'm just going to say test, and you add some dates here. And then you can add your location. So let's just say St. Louis. And then you can add a URL here, but I also coded it so that if you put a random one here and it doesn't link, it will connect to one of these. So you can say if you're traveling by plane, car, or boat, you can save the trip and it will add that trip, and then it will replace the image with an icon, whether a boat, plane, or car, depending on what you chose. And that is all linked to the trips section. So these are the same trips, styled just a little bit differently. And again, there's a fallback image if your image does not work. So it goes back to the icon. You can delete cards currently. Sorry. You can delete cards by hitting the delete button, and then it will ask to confirm either want to delete it or you can cancel. And then also, if you can see, if you click on the trip, you can go in and edit your schedule, which again, this does not work completely, but the idea here is that you add in your event name, your address or location, and then you would choose a start time and an end time. So 7:20 to 8:20, and then you'd hit add to schedule, and then it would populate over here. All of this is hard coded in right now. And then as you can see, an add note button, which I couldn't even get this to work, so I couldn't get the add notes to work either. And then all of that also will link to down here where you can see, and this would populate up as this is working. So it's June 19th to June 22nd. If you go back here, June 19th to June 22nd, and it does have your name here. and then it would come up with your daily schedules here and any notes that you would have added, which again, these are all hard coded. As you can see, they're all saying the same date and the same thing. And then I think I will hand it over to Inzira at this point, who worked on the calendar section and the about section.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, as Ryan said before, we were down because unfortunately I had some issues with my laptop and I couldn't join to the team until Monday, unfortunately. And when I joined, I finally had an opportunity to work on the calendar section. As probably I can share my screen. Here, as you can see, we can add some trips when Ryan worked on this section. For example, new trip to, let's say, Italy. And as we can choose the date. Actually, we have this trip here. Maybe it's gonna show. Yeah, so the calendar section I created using the React calendar, and it actually pop-ups trips from here, which we created in the trip section. It reads the information, and here you can see that it actually adds in the calendar. And also here you can add some notes. For example, on June 20, trip to Rome start, and here I can add some notes. For example, at 9 a.m., we arriving, and it actually shows here at the notes. Unfortunately, we are still working on that. It's not completely done, but eventually, yeah, as Ryan mentioned, we want to connect it to this trips, so we would actually be able to add some more information like on the schedule, like at 9 a.m., for example, we can get the taxi, or for example, if we have a reservation at the restaurant or something like that. So it would be actual calendar notes here, and we would be able to adjust them. And also I worked on the about section where we put our information, and I used a grid layout for that and some styling. Probably about styling, I will pass it to Avery.
Yeah, so like you said, I'm Avery. So unfortunately, for both Ryan and Inzira, I had problems running the back end because we did run off a back end because I didn't have some of the proper software installed. So
Avery, I think we can't hear you.
can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. I was connected to the wrong headphone. All right, but yeah, so basically what I was saying was some of my apps weren't working. I didn't have some of the things installed that I needed installed because they're both pretty far into the program, and I am where I think Jamie was last on the last presentation. So unfortunately, I didn't get to do um, a lot of the styling that I'd like to do. But yeah, so kind of lost on it, honestly. Um, yeah, worked on styling some of the modals on the buttons. But Inzira was a huge help in that. She nailed it. Ryan and Inzira both nailed it and were huge helps in teaching me a lot of this stuff as well. So since I kind of struggled a little bit, I can talk a little bit more about our future goals with this app. And one of the things we'd like to do is like adding the events to the schedule. Where if you click on the trip, you'll be directed to the trip editor, which Ryan showed off. Some collaborations where you can invite other users as well, and you can all work on the project together or the trip together. Each individual person can add their own notes to the itinerary, and that way, everyone can see what's coming up for everyone. and then mapping the trip. That way, we can, integrate some APIs and have a map, have it mapped where it'll show up some points of interest, some restaurants, some places to stop and visit. So those would be some future goals that we could add to this app. Ryan, do you have any other notes?
Okay, yeah. Also, I just added to the chat the link to the front end. It is deployed. The back end is also deployed. So it is a live site. And I do hopefully plan to work with these guys to finish this app and get it fully working. So if you guys want to check it out, the link is there.
All right. That is great. I saw you put the link there and I put it in the YouTube chat as well. So in case anyone's watching this on replay, then they'll be able to catch it there too. So be prepared. There could be a lot of clicks coming your way. Okay, so let's talk about one of the coolest features that I saw, which was the calendar being attached to the notes section, and you write the little notes and then it pops up on the little calendar bubble. How did you guys do that?
We use the React calendar, and also I read some information like how to connect the notes, so which would show on the calendar, and just did some research and try to do that. Yeah, I'm not really sure how to explain it. I'm still bad in
No,
that.
that's okay.
But yeah,
so
it
a lot
was
of that
really
kind of
interesting.
came with the React calendar, and then linking the two, you kind of use the online resources.
Yeah, yeah.
Super fun, super fun. It sounds like you guys certainly had a lot of ups and downs. What are some of your plans to kind of continue collaborating past this? I know you talked a lot about like here what some future features are, and that you guys have some plans, but like what does that look like when you're not under the time pressure of the code jam?
Probably I would say to work more. Yeah, now it was, we were in a rush and a little stressed. Now we probably can exhale a little bit and nail some stuff, polish some stuff, because yeah, for now we just like, we work till 1 a.m. For example, even yesterday I went sleep at 1 a.m. Because we tried to make it looks good, fix some errors because we had some errors in the console. I also tried to, we still working on with the backend part because backend is quite tricky. Yeah, so probably we're just gonna polish all that stuff.
I love it. I think it's going to be a great addition to your y'all's portfolio if you're able to continue that work and show the iterative process over time.
Yeah. I still haven't exhaled. I'm still feeling the pressure. So
Still feeling the pressure. Okay. Just maybe go outside, touch some grass. It's going to be okay.
This man put in some work on this project. I will say that.
That's great. But also, code jams being a set aside, remember balance. Code jams are different because, 6 days. But do remember to walk away, good healthy practices, touch grass, and all of those things. It is really impressive the amount of features and details that you guys were able to get in such a short period of time with so much kind of fluctuations and technical difficulties with the teammates and things. So it's really wonderful to see. Okay, that is the itinerarians with Indira, Avery Walker, and Ryan Ryan Bomarito. There we go. All right. Team 3 tonight is the team splits, and that team is Bradley Silcox, Jasmine Cunningham, Abraham Ephraim, and Modesto Amador.
Hi everyone, I'm Modesto. I'll be presenting and the project for the most part, and then my other teammates will chime in. Fortunately, Abraham couldn't make it here. He had to work at the moment, but without further ado, let's start. So I'll share my screen. All right. This is screen 1. So this is our GitHub repo. So this is split. We do have it deployed on Netlify, which is what we'll be using to showcase the project, and then just a little bit about what it is. So Split is your personal group trip expense tracker. So right when you land on the page, we do have some preset trips that are brought in through trips.json. So just running through this, we have the summer vacation. Look, it has the location of the trip that you can set when you add a new trip. So just jumping right in. We'll go into the weekend getaway. So right when you go onto a trip's webpage, it'll show the title, the total expenses for that trip. It's logged with the expenses that you add. Each expense has the name of the expense, the cost, who paid for it, and then the others were involved. So, for example, if I paid for the parking for Bradley and Jasmine, they would go ahead and reimburse me. So you can see at the bottom who owes whom. Bradley owes myself 25, and Jasmine owes myself 25. So they split that cost evenly between the two for the pairs. So we'll go ahead and see this live with when we add an expense. Let's say we went out to, or we got groceries for the trip. Let's say we got groceries, and the cost was, let's say, roughly $80. Pretty cheap nowadays. Let's say Bradley paid for it all on his card, and then it was Bradley, Jasmine, and myself that ate the groceries. When we go ahead and add that, it'll go ahead add the expenses, but it'll also show a new updated expense. So I now owe Bradley 136 because it takes a third of that expense and adds it to the total. So because I also owed him for the bar last night that he paid my tab. So that's a little bit about the trips or the expense page. If you press the home page, it'll take you right back where you can add a new trip. So for example, let's say we wanted to go to Render ATL, an awesome convention that's happening right now at Atlanta. And so let's say the guest who went, it would be myself. And then all these are separated through comma just because we iterate through that object later on. I'll show them that in the code. So let's say Bradley went and Abraham went. So when we go ahead and do that, it'll take you to a new web page that's automatically under Render ATL. So let's say we took the flight there to Atlanta, which was like let's say it was 400 for all of us, and then I paid for it. I can go ahead and say that I was involved, and then it was also Abraham as well as Bradley. Abraham and Bradley. All right, so then it'll automatically take the cost. It doesn't say Modesto owes Modesto. It'll automatically take it out and then take Abraham and Bradley's part out of that. So that's just one example of how to add a new expense. And then all of this is saved through local storage. So I'll show that now. So when we go here, we go to the users trips, we see that each user trip, for example, this is Render ATL. When you open it, it'll show the expenses. And so through that expense, that's how it's calculated that. And then I also wanted to show off that we do have like a log out and log in functionality. As of right now, it works, but we're not doing anything with the user information. So for example, we'll have myself, we'll do like test@gmail.com. It does ask you to have a password of over 8 characters. So that's why I did that. But if you go here, it'll say welcome guest. In the future, we do want to have it where it says like welcome Modesto. But if we inspect the elements and go to the application, you can see that we do have a new users, which it'll show all the users, and then the current user, which it knows that I am currently signed in. All right. And then that concludes the visual portion of this. I did want to show the code of this. So a big challenge on this was a lot of us or our team was split into 2 groups. So it was one group was not necessarily split, but one group was at the earliest stages of React, so just getting their hands wet with React, but not really understanding it too much. So we wanted to really allow them to get in on the project. So we made everything with vanilla JavaScript, which is vanilla JavaScript, vanilla HTML and CSS. So a big struggle was actually, I don't know if you guys saw, but if you go to the web page, this URL is the exact same for all of them, except for the ID. So it takes the ID and it renders the elements from the JSON, but it does that all through main.js. So when you render the trips, it makes an href using this. So in React, normally you use routes using like links, but you can do this, you accomplish the same thing in vanilla JavaScript using just uh, parameters to the href. So that was one thing. But looking at our code, this is our index.html. A lot of the magic happened in main, where it was like we're loading the trips. All this is coming from our trips.json, which is the parameters for this is the ID, the title, the location, the guest who went on that. So I'm not sure if you saw, but if you wanted to add a new expense, this payer dropdown is automatically taken from that friends attribute. So for example, go to the trip that we just made, renter ATL. We know that Bradley, myself, and Abraham went on this. So when we go, it only populates them. So you don't have to worry about having to type everybody's name again, only if you wanted to split that bill. And then finally, so a lot of the magic happens here with trips.json since we don't have a backend. And then, so this is saying if I wanted for the presentation purposes, I wanted to already have like some trips here. But so that's what this line is saying. So if the trip's length is 0, so for example, if you just logged in and you haven't made a trip, it'll automatically set the local storage for this trips.json. So you have some idea of what the trip should look like. But later on, like now that you are logged in and you've made a trip, all of this, as soon as you enter a new expense, is saved onto local storage. And then finally, we have our modals. So we have like a modal for signing up, for logging in, the dashboard, the back button, adding expenses, and then as well as adding trips. So this is where all the logic happens here. And that concludes our project. Any questions? So mainly the meat and the potatoes. I personally worked on getting everybody's code just like nested it together, and Jasmine really worked on the CSS and making everything look nice. Abraham worked on the functionality of like the cost. He had a lot of that done, and I just kind of like took it and then reworked it with Jasmine's HTML structure. And then finally, oh, sorry about that. And finally, these modules right here were made by Bradley, especially the login and the logout functionality. So it completely works. It should, and then it'll automatically re-render you that to there. So that's just a little bit about what everybody worked on.
Very cool. All right, so Modesto, this kind of a quick question about your own journey along TripleTen. You've done a few of these code jams now, and I know you're getting close to the end. Or did you already graduate yet?
No, I'm currently on Sprint 14. Turning my project, just doing the revise, and then starting Sprint 15. So close to the end, yeah.
Almost there. All right. And so, what do you feel like are the skills that you've learned over the past, like over your time with TripleTen, that you see coming into use each time you do the code jams?
Yeah, for sure. So the main thing is I remember my first code jam, I maybe wrote one line in React, but like when I had joined, I was like, I don't really know. We built everything in with vanilla JS and like HTML and CSS, but now coming in with like I have so much more skills and like tools at my disposal. My first reaction is, oh, I can make this with React. Oh, if I, for example, like the biggest thing was like when we made these trips.html, how do I pass this information along? And then in React, it's so easy. You use props, right? You can use a prop or you use context. It's like, okay, this is the user context. So automatically you can just pull that information wherever. In vanilla JS, it's not as easy. So we did do that with JSON, and I learned this new trick when I was writing the script for it, where it's where is it in main.js when we're rendering them, giving them a unique href that'll automatically make. So if you notice, I can show you the code in pages. We only have one trip.html. We didn't have to make like, a ski trip.html. All of that is populated just using that code right there. But in React, it's so much easier. So just taking a step back and going back to the basics, but going back to the basics and like I have so much more context on, oh, I know this is possible. Oh, I know this, we could do this possible. So how do I take my React now knowledge and kind of like not downgrade it, but like make it more primitive, but still having the same skill set. So that's the difference in now doing game or code jams now versus when I started. So I learned a lot of new stuff, but also taking that new stuff and then using it in different contexts.
I think it's a really valuable skill that you point out. There's a lot of times, in coding, they always talk about like you spend most of your time in development reading other people's code and trying to decipher it. And so often, a lot of the jobs that you may get is updating or maintaining legacy code. So it's
Exactly.
very real that you know all about React and you love it, but that the company you work for is still using JavaScript and can't update for a myriad of reasons. And so this is a great exercise in that, how to make things still modern in a tight constraint.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fantastic. And then the one other question that I had was the nerdy little piece about how does your code know not to assign, like not to show that you owe yourself money?
Yeah, for sure. I can show this. This is within trips.js under calculate depths. So this is saying right here, if the friend equals the payer, so basically right here when you're saying like I'm involved, if Modesto is also Modesto, it just skips it. It doesn't calculate that, and then it moves on to the next friend.
So cool.
Yeah, and then it'll return the depths, and then you calculate the depths here. That's how it says. It'll calculate who owes whom. In the future, we did due to the time constraint, we do want to have it. So I'll show an example of this. So I think it's in Weekend Getaway, or in Ski Trip, right? So for example, I paid for the lodge, which was 800, right? But then Bradley paid for the dinner for me. He paid for me and Jasmine. Instead of saying Modesto owes Bradley $60, I do want to concise it where it'll just take it out of Bradley's tab and paying for me. So instead of paying me 266, he'll just pay me 260 because it's already taken my tab off of there. So that's a little bit for the future plans on this project.
Ooh, that's gonna be some fun algorithm there.
Yeah, and like I said, working with like vanilla JavaScript, like for example, if I were to make this would be so much easier in React, just because you can pull it from the database, right? With the database, it has all that knowledge, but with this, you have to tell it like kind of like every time like the context of what you're working in. So like for example, in a beach getaway, the expenses are here. You're never gonna see like in rate and render ATL, it's gonna be calling the hotel for the beach getaway, right? The house rental. But if you were working in React, you could potentially do that. But in vanilla JavaScript, everything is very like contained. So how do you pull information from other places without in vanilla JavaScript? And so that was a little bit of a constraint that we had to do. But yeah, it's super cool tech. I've learned a lot of cool tricks. Like I said, when you go from working with the new and shiny tools, and then you go back to the basics, you still have that same fundamentals of like, oh, I know I could do this. There must have been a way they did it back then, and then you go into this rabbit hole of like, okay, this is how they did this back then, and this is how you can modernize it. So it's really cool.
Very fun. Yeah, really great progress. And I really hope you let us know when you get that next level algorithm of the mathematics in there, because I think that would just be amazing. And then I feel like we'll all be using it.
Yeah, it's a little tangent. When we started this project, I was looking at previous code that I did, code that I have from a year ago. I did a vanilla JavaScript tracker expense. Like it just basically you could add stuff, but it was so basic. And then now looking back, I opened that code, I opened that project up, and just seeing the code, and I was like, wow, like I like all the stuff that I've learned from that to like improve on this. It's literally the same app, but now it's so much more. And so it's just
Well,
like
it's
it just
great to see that
reflects a lot.
progress and iteration there. All right, that is team splits with Bradley Silcox, Jasmine Cunningham, Abraham Ephraim, Modesto Amador. All right, and then our last team for the evening is the green team, and that team consists of Majestic Vaughns, Joshua Gomez, Antonio Richardson, and Crow Miller. And they have pre-recorded, so let me go ahead and share my screen. There we go. All right. Come on, little video. It's always that moment when the video doesn't want to come out to play.
Hi, my name is Rich, and welcome to Greenfinder. If you're planning to take a vacation or are already on one, this site is perfect for you to locate a nearby park or recreational place for you and your family's enjoyment. All you have to do is submit an address or location anywhere in the world, and Greenfinder will supply you with a few options to choose and the directions to get there. You can then save them to your profile for later viewing. Anyone can view them, but you have to sign in to save them, so let's do that now. My team allowed me to code many of the CSS that you're looking at. The site was made so that based on your personal preference of the browser, you can view this in light or dark mode. You'll see mine in white. And even though other members coded some of the CSS, such as the header, the icons and such, I wanted to make sure that the colors green and then hovered brown show up on both white or dark modes. Put the spin on our logo here and the little hover interactivity. So once you put your location in, you'll see the nearby destinations that pop up. I styled the cards for the most part and selected the border colors and embossed them with box shadow to make them pop upon selection. You can click them for directions from the QR code, or you can save them to your personal profile and then come up to your profile here, and all of your locations will be saved in one spot. You can then unsave them from there and see the rest of your locations. Down here at the footer, I have our names of the creators down here, and each name is linked to our individual GitHub page. One thing that separates this visually from other sites is that each tree has its own unique dance. And so without further ado, I'm going to pass along to Josh for a deeper dive into some of the functionality.
Hello, my name is Josh, and I'm here to talk about the API calls that we made to the Google Maps Places API, as well as our usage of uState briefly. So notice that when I make changes to say this here, I want to delete this card, I didn't have to hit refresh in order for the component to update. Normally web pages are static, right? But with the magic of React, we can use a little something called uState, and uState basically gives us the ability to re-render a particular component when state changes. The way this works really quickly under the hood here is, let's take this one for example. So basically what we have here is our variable and then our setter. The variable is initially set to null, so place to remove is set to null because that's what we set it to here. And then when we want to change the value of place to remove, we run set place to remove. Now let me talk about the API call real quick to Google Maps. We had to create a simple Express backend here, and then what we basically have are two main API calls. The first one is for place details. Here is our place ID. We get this when we hit submit on the search box. We get a place ID that we can then pass to place-details to get more information. The initial API call doesn't return stuff like the image or the correctly formatted address. So that's why we need to make an additional API call to get that information. Thank you for watching.
Hello, everyone. My name is Crow. I'm a full stack developer, and I am with the Green team working with this Green Finder app. My first contribution was to, I'm just going to share my screen here, help create the Figma design. And once you see the application, you'll see like we took some creative liberties, but this is really great in the beginning for us to kind of conceptualize, okay, how the app's going to work, what components that we need to build, so on and so forth. I was responsible for creating the basic structure of the navigation components as well as the header component here. If I go over to the home page, stylizing everything, making sure that everything was centered. That was a lot of fun. And I just want to bring your attention here to this avatar. Being able to customize this avatar was a challenge because it was using OAuth frameworks. So finding that component and digging through was a real challenge, and it was wonderful to be able to stylize it. Just want to bring your attention to the modal aspect of the preview, previewing the places. So I used React Modal as a framework to create these modals, the functionalities, as well as the styling, and a confirmation modal where I was able to connect it to existing backend framework to actually make it work to so that if we say yes, we can delete the modal. So thank you so much. I just want to pass it off to my teammate, Majestic. Peace.
Hi everyone, I'm Majestic Bonds. I'm in my final sprint here at TripleTen, and for the Green Finder project, my main responsibility was integrating and implementing Firebase. I built the entire backend connection which powers saved places, user authentication, and real-time updates across the app. We chose Firebase because it's fast, scalable, and built for real-time apps. I configured the entire backend using environment variables for security and wrote our Firestore setup inside this config file right here. And it is being extracted inside of the .getignore file, excuse me. And I created custom hooks and a context provider to connect our front end to Firestore. This lets the whole app stay in sync, whether you're saving, deleting, or doing parks, everything updates in real time. And we're basically using UseEffect. I can show you an example right here. We're using UseEffect to basically, this one right here is basically fetching the details and updating the front end and the back end simultaneously so that they stay in sync. And I had to create this context file right here. And basically I had to create this and pass it in from as a parent, wrapping the children around and wrap this whole context provider around our actual app to be able to delete the card and then actually leave the page without it having to refresh it, because before this, deleting cards stayed visible until it refreshed. So now we're able to actually keep the UI and backend perfectly synced with live Firestore listeners. And get back over here. So pretty much how this works, right? When a user clicks on the heart icon to save park, it triggers Firebase update in Firestore. I used optimistic UI updates so it shows up instantly even before the request finishes and rolls back if there's an error. And so you would save that said park that we just saved right here, and it gets saved to our collection. And then if you want to delete a card, delete it. It leaves from your collection. This is also being tracked inside of our actual database here. So that's actually really cool. And because Firebase setup was so smooth, I was able to polish the user experience, and I styled our carousel and made sure the whole app is mobile first and fully responsive. I can show you what that looks like here. And this was made with a mobile first intention, responsive design. And it scales beautifully. If we go over here and check our carousel, everything lines up really smoothly here. And in summary, I brought full Firebase integration to Green Finder, handling the backend setup, auth, live data sync, and responsive front end components. This let our team build faster. And develop and deliver a polished product. Overall, this is a really great experience with the team, and I'm glad that I got a chance to work with everybody here. Thank you so much. This is what I had to bring to the team, and I hope you guys like it. Thank you.
All right, that was fantastic. Lots of oohs and ahs behind the scenes. So let's talk with the team. Majestic, I wanted to talk to you first just because you had mentioned you're in your last sprint.
Yes, I'm on my final sprint here.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Uh,
Same question that I had for Modesto. You have also been doing a lot of code jams. I've seen you quite a bit. And is there something that you feel like that you have learned throughout your time with TripleTen that you are going back to each time in the code jams?
um, Absolutely. I would say pretty much, I mean, that's where my base knowledge comes from. So, that's
You're like
definitely
all of it.
honestly, yeah, everything. But other than that, I would just say it was a big difference for me with this code jam than the first one. Uh,
What was
it
the big difference? I know you were very nervous the first one, though.
Still very nervous this one as well. But the big difference for me was pre-recording our video. Uh,
Yeah,
Believe it or not, that was actually really stressful. I thought it was gonna be easier, and for my part, that it's gonna be easier, and this, but it was after 100 takes, maybe. I finally 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, finally got through it, and I was like, you know what? I can't get the video to line up to match 2 minutes and 30 seconds because we have to meet the 10-minute presentation. And that was very hard. So I had to speed up. I just ended up speeding up my part. And
it's great though. You were thinking outside the box,
yeah, thank you.
making it work. Well, you know, really great. A lot of the team really enjoyed the back end, and you guys chose to use Firebase as a back end. Does anyone want to take a minute on the team and kind of tell us about the choices you guys made to use Firebase?
Well, that was my contribution for the team. When we came up with this great idea, we also wanted to come up with the back end as well. And having seen what Firebase can do previously, with a relative of mine, I remembered like the user interface and how easy it is to actually connect it to your front end just to get the app, having like real time data, and it's 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 a back end pretty much to get you up and running very, very fast. So
Would you recommend it to other jammers if they are
absolutely,
familiar with setting up on
absolutely.
back end?
Absolutely. If you enjoy like creating apps and you want to have like some type of backend that's like, you make an app for like maybe like your auntie or like a friend or family member for whatever problem that you're having in your life, and you want to have some type of real-time saves. So I just think that Firebase is perfect for that, to see your application come to life.
Yeah, that was pretty great. Another thing that was really wonderful that we all very much enjoyed, and Josh, maybe you could tell us more about it, is the Google login y'all showed.
Yeah, that was surprisingly easy to actually build out. I mean, normally you would hand roll your own auth with something like OAuth, and it would be an absolute
Yeah,
pain. But Clerk is like, I guess it's like React in a way. It's like a library or a framework that brings a whole bunch of extra stuff into your website. And then you just got a bunch of wrappers basically. You got like a signed in and a signed out wrapper, so you can manage what content is displayed based on whether or not the user is signed in. And at first, Magic and I were worried that we were going to have to really do a lot of finagling with his Firebase backend and the clerk stuff to get the user ID, to actually be able to save the cards under a particular user. But turns out that Clerk also does that. I mean, if you do all the right imports, you have a user ID set for each unique user already that you can just put into Firebase. It was surprisingly simple.
That is amazing. Yeah, that is something I tell you. All of us that were on the call, you can't see because it's taking up the whole screen, but quite literally, all of us were like, "Oh, a Google login? How did you do that in
Yeah, it's the
6
greatest thing
days?
ever.
That is incredible."
Yeah. I watch a lot of YouTube videos about software development and React and stuff, and there's this guy named Theo, and he has Clerk as one of his sponsors. And in one of his YouTube videos, I was like, I gotta give this a try, and I did, and I was just blown away with the results. I had to incorporate it.
Super rad. Yeah, definitely taking that one and going to go and investigate that one further.
Right on.
All right. And then, one last question for you guys as a team. How was the collaboration part of it? How was prioritizing what would get done when? You guys certainly did, again, front end and back end. That's certainly a lot in any amount of time, but in a 6 day sprint, that is certainly nuts and crazy and very impressive. So, how did you guys manage the prioritization and split between the four of you?
I can share if that's okay. So it was a pleasure to work with everybody, and we kind of it was like a natural front end and then a natural back end that kind of formed. And we're all really just supportive of one another, especially during the times when we were merging or trying to merge the branches, so on and so forth. So we really it was really intuitive, the whole process. And we just got lucky to kind of like it just split off from the jump. Like, okay, me and Rich primarily did the front end, um, and Majestic and Joshua took care of the back end. And also there was some cross collaboration between everyone. So we were all kind of dancing around one another, and anytime that someone was going through any problem, whether it was merging a branch or pulling, we were all kind of somebody was always there to jump in and help one another. So it was really just an intuitive process. Not much planning involved. We were just rolling with it.
All right, vibe coding. I love it. All right, that is the green team with Majestic Vons, Joshua Gomez, Antonio Richardson, and Crow Miller. And that is going to be all for us tonight. So I'm going to sign off and say goodbye from all of us here at TripleTen. Thank you so much for watching our June Code Jam presentation. Thank you so much to all of our students for joining us live. Thank you so much to all of you watching at home or watching the repeats later at home. Love a good rerun. The results and the winner will be announced on June 19th in Discord and in our social medias. Please take a moment if you are a student and go over to our Discord and vote in the chat as to who is your favorite team so we can get that audience award count. And then also, if you're watching this on YouTube, please make sure you vote in the live chat or in the comments below. It certainly does take a lot of teamwork, as we saw tonight, to make something go all the way through the pipeline. And so I want to say special thanks to all of the people who are working behind the scenes to get these code jams all the way through and pipeline complete. And that would be Devin, Elena, Natasha, Olivia, Anastasia, Dennis, and of course, my cat Sharkbait. Thank you again for taking the time for all of you presenting to have the courage to get in front of all of us and show something that you have worked on from nothing, and knowing that you couldn't have it be as perfect as it always is in your mind. I know that's always my experience as a developer, right? I have these lofty ideas and then you have to kind of scope it down for your time frame. I am always continually impressed with the things that I'm learning from all of you. Thank you so much. And my name is Tiffany Hall. If you need to find me, you can find me at Tiffany Codes on Instagram, and you can probably find my cat Sharkbait trying to figure out ways to steal cheese from the dog. Cheese stacks. Okay. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great evening. Bye.